Well, I botched this whole video, but you're going to see it anyways. All right, welcome back, my friends, to Flower Patch. It has been a day, again, one of those where I'm so disorganized. But I'm going to plant up a few things with you and show you where I put one of my finds, no, two of my finds from Lowe's on the bargaining rack, and where I placed them for this year. And then, towards the end, I will give you an update of a few new fresh blooms in the gardens that just opened up since I did the garden tour yesterday. So let's get rolling. I'm going to ask for your forgiveness right up front. Started this video, didn't have my sound on, so I'm going to voice over most of it. There you go. Well, here we are. I think you can hear me, and I didn't know my microphone was not on. And I'm showing you where I'm going to plant my SunPatiens. And I'm walking back. It's kind of dark back there, but where I had set them. One was still in its pot, and the other is in the ground, but I will dig it up when I need to plant it. But I was fixing the camera here so you can see better. But I'm going to remove the lavender from the containers. Now, when I went to put it in the ground, and what I'm explaining to you here is I read on the pot that said that these will grow 3 times the size. So they will get quite big. And I thought, okay, it's too big in the spot in the bed, but it would be perfect in these containers. And so I decided, instead of putting it in the back barrels, the barrels behind me that I was pointing to, I had thought of that too, and we'll get to those barrels later, but I'm going to remove the lavender in these terracotta pots and put the SunPatiens in them. And one of the things that said on there was also they don't like to be fertilized, but you just keep them moist and they will bloom from now until first freeze. And I thought that would be perfect for these pots, because the lavender, it just doesn't perform well in. Even though this is terracotta, I try not to overwater, they just don't look beautiful. They're not a big statement. And that color orange, I think, is going to be wonderful in these containers. So I am going to grab my tools, and I'm going to come on back, and I'm going to plant them up in these pots. So now I have my tools. I needed the bench. Kneeling on this cement is hard on my old knees. So I got the bench, and I was trying to have you in the camera and not worry about where I was at. But yeah, I was digging out, getting underneath the roots of the lavender and just working it out. Now it kind of is a bonus that you couldn't hear. And I had to voice over because my neighbor was on her phone and she was so loud that I was afraid it would cause interference. But since I have to voice over now, it's not a big deal. But there you see, I pulled out the lavender. I am going to replant them somewhere. I'm not sure where yet, where they will do better than they have here. But you see, now the SunPatiens, what's great about them is they not only take the full sun, but they can take some shade. So I have another spot. If I run on to some more I have another spot to put some. Perfect. So you see how beautiful that is? All right, here I'm talking about maybe adding alyssum to the container so that you'd have that little bit of white. And maybe a draping plant, maybe creeping Jenny, or even a lemon coral sedum would be pretty in here. And yeah, just add that little more chartreuse color. It'll blend well, go well with the lime thyme that is behind me, that's the ground cover that's so beautiful in chartreuse. So that is an option for this, but for now I'm going to go get those plants, the alyssum, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to put them. So I went and got some extra soil and I got the alyssum. I need to move my bench because I have to move around the pot and try not to get in your way here. But I wanted to put the alyssum. I'm going to put 3, this is a 6-pack, 3 in each of the pots. and then I can disperse them. They'll fill in beautifully, but first I need to top up a little bit of the soil, I think. Oh, then I decided I need to set the alyssum on there to see how much I needed to add, so I wouldn't have to dig it back out. So don't you think that white up against that beautiful, it's a red-orange, is just a perfect accent for that. And it'll go well with the alyssum that is running alongside the bed there, the artist garden planted. So I'm going to fill up with the soil, and then I'll make sure that I have an irrigation piece that goes in there, and I'll put that back in there. But just fill in with a good potting soil. This is I don't like using ones that have added fertilizers, and this doesn't. It just has good, nutritious ingredients. But I won't add any more fertilizer to this come this summer because they don't need it. And sometimes when you over fertilize, you get more foliage and less flowers. So it's better to err on the side of caution than to over fertilize a plant. And you'll notice if something is needing fertilization, whether it's the leaves not looking the right color or something of that nature. But you'd be surprised. Many of these good quality potting soils, they have plenty of nutrients as long as you don't overwater to flush out all of the nutrients. And here I'm just going to be trimming up some of the alyssum so that it can bulk up a little bit more instead of just getting longer and taller. And I'm also cleaning up the impatient and deadheading it so that it'll put on more blooms. It's kind of an awkward spot for me, but you do what you got to do to get things done. I didn't want to have to lift these like onto a table and then, put them back down because they get quite heavy with all that soil in it. So yeah, it's looking good. Getting it all pruned up and pretty. You can see I'm trimming on the alyssum on the other side of that plant. My pruners are a little dull. That's what took me so long. I need to sharpen them. So now I'm going to move to the next container. This is pretty much the same deal. Had some weeds to get out of the way. And I'm just going to dig out the lavender. I was talking about the pond. I was looking over at my pond and saying I needed to dig up the footage. I have it on film where my nephews had dug this for me, and we put in a little form and we filled it, and then I was going to show you what it looks like now as I weed it and etc. But that's what I was telling you about there. So here I'm getting comfortable trying to dig this one out and get it ready. This one I think was a little bit, had deeper roots, so I had a little bit harder time getting it out. And I still don't know where I'm going to put them, but yeah, this one is Sweet Romance Lavender. I had seen where this one stays shorter and is supposed to bloom longer, but it never really performed well for me. Most lavenders don't, but I thought I'd give this one a shot because it is a Proven Winner selection and it's supposed to do better, but I just don't have the conditions, I suppose, for good lavender growing. I do have one in back that it's phenomenal, and it has been a huge disappointment until, and this last winter, late winter, it was looking so bad and scruffy and out of shape, and I just whacked that thing back hard. Back to the old wood, even though they say not to do that, I did. And now it actually looks very, very nice. I should show you in an upcoming video. I don't think I got footage of it here for today, but yeah. That's so, some things you just need to stop trying. I love lavender. It smells so pretty, but it just isn't something that grows nicely for me that makes it worth a spot in my garden. When you have a small garden, you have to choose what's really going to be gorgeous. I thought this was a good time to get these weeds out of this place, though. Soil was soft, and so yeah, they were bugging me. They will all go out to the chicken pen. The chickens love eating them up, and then they give me good manure for me to compost. So again, just going to plant up the impatient, I have to go dig it up out of the ground, and basically, so I've got my shovel. I just planted it in the ground a couple days ago, so it wasn't rooted yet. So it was pretty easy. I just wanted to make sure I didn't yank it out by the plant. So I got it dug up. I'm just basically speeding this up because it's the same as the prior video. I'm placing the alyssum in there next to the SunPatien and filling it with soil, getting it all filled in pretty. And then I will clean up and water them in and get them going. Just pruning it up a little bit. Encourage new growth, make them stockier. They'll fill in all around in the soil. Hopefully they will also reseed. All of my ones from last year really reseeded. Now I'm just pruning back that iris that is done blooming. So now it's time to get the hose, squirt off the sidewalk, and water these in well. The soil was fairly moist. It hadn't been that long since I had the irrigation on. I've been working on that. I was working on that this weekend. But I'm just spraying off the sidewalk, clean it up, and then I will water them in so there's no like air pockets between the roots and the new soil. So pretty much what I'm doing here. Not too difficult. I turn the hose down so I don't wash the soil completely out. I just want to sink it down in there and make sure there's good contact between the roots and the soil, and getting it all nice and watered. And here I wanted to pan over to show you some things. Look at the orange flowers I planted out there. Those are those ones that were in the greenhouse. I can't remember the name offhand, but I mentioned that in the prior one. They're a bulb. But look at these iris. Aren't they doing gorgeous? I like when there's a bunch of them together like this. It just makes a statement. This is Elise's, and then the peachy colored one to the right, that is Coral Passion, in case you wanted to know. The Elise's I've had for several years, and it does very well for me, and seems to be pretty tough because this is a bed that the gophers were chewing on some of my iris. So here are the Supertunias. This is in one of those ready-fill containers. You're just supposed to plop it into a prettier pot. And I got these at the bargain rack at Lowe's. I showed you in my bargain rack video of all the finds, and this was one of them. And I'm going to put it in the barrel that is sitting behind it. I dug out the roses this past weekend that was in this barrel, and there was a Gara in there, and I put it down in the garden. But this is the barrel that these will go in, and they'll have plenty of room to spread out. Got my soil, getting everything ready to roll. And the tulips were just left over from the year before last. They did okay, but I don't expect any more bloom from them. Really, not much. So I'm not worried about, leaving the leaves or leaving them. I'm just going to pull these out, clean it up, to put these petunias in here. The tulips probably wouldn't have done well next year anyway, so it's no big deal. I moved the irrigation hose out of the way. Very important. I have cut a few lines recently, so I'm getting better at looking for it and not just digging in without remembering that I had drilled. So now I'm pulling this. I had it in this container to soak because it has that spongy peat moss, medium, as that's what they were rooted in, and it gets hydrophobic, and that's what was wrong with it at the Lowe's. It just wouldn't hold water, and if you soak them, they will. But that's one reason I'm not a big fan of using peat moss. It does get hydrophobic, especially when it fills with roots. So I just loosened up the roots a little bit so that they would reach out into the new soil better or more easily. It won't hurt them one bit. So I'm making sure I have a divot in the soil that's in there deep enough. I don't add anything to this soil here. I will top it up with fresh potting soil, and then I will use my eco-organic liquid fertilizer on this, and that will be plenty. I don't have to put in a slow release or anything. That works for everything. I don't need more than that to add to this. I could water in with some of the organic Rev, which does help with transplant shock, but I didn't do this at this moment. I can go back and do it later. But yeah, so the eco-organic fertilizer will be perfect, and I will. So now I'm doing the second one the same, but there was a Gara still in here that I needed to dig out, and I'm also pulling out the extra petunias, and there was a strawberry there. I don't know how it got in there, but so like I said, pulling out the petunias and getting it ready for the container of the Supertunias. I'm kind of excited to try these again. I'm hoping that in these containers it will do better. Supertunias in the past, you've heard me mention this, haven't really done well for me. They just kind of don't do anything. And then until the end of summer, like September, then they'll start putting on beautiful bloom and what have you. All I can think is it's our cool summer nights, that maybe it likes it warmer. But you know, I don't know for sure. And I'm hoping, being in this spot where it will get some morning sun, some mid-afternoon shade, and then later on in the evening more sun, that these will do well in these barrels, as well as being just in the barrels, that they will stay warmer. The soil may stay warmer. So it's a hope. It was worth a shot, since these were at a bargain basement price, to just give them a try. I always like to give things another try, just to see if maybe it was the spot I had them in before or something like that. So always try again, especially if it didn't cost you that much. And I thought this was great to fill in with these barrels to provide the color. Now this is, in this container is Supertunia Vista Bubblegum Pink, the Vista Silverberry, and I think it's the Vista Fuchsia. I only see one bloom of the fuchsia, but we'll see. Maybe it's just taking its time. But you know, it's a perfect size to put in these barrels. I won't need anything else in here, unless I could put some Creeping Jenny to try to come out the sides, but I don't think it needs it. There's too much foliage around the barrel that kind of hides it. So I don't think even if I put something that spilled out, that it would really be that noticeable. And these petunias will trail themselves, so I think it would be superfluous to put in anything else. So I'm looking at my boxwood here, too, because it looks like I might need to trim it down. I try to keep them the same height as my barrels. So yeah, I'm measuring it. So I see it's quite a bit taller than the barrels. It's put on some growth this spring. So now I'm going to clean up my stuff, but I'm going to go get my trimmers after I have filled in with the extra soil, and I'm going to excuse me, chop back the boxwoods so that they're at the right height. So I've got my pruners, and I'm just using the edge of the barrel as my measuring line. I want the boxwood to stay about the same height so it doesn't hide what's in the barrel. I just wanted it to be an evergreen in my garden and have it kind of hide the barrels. I didn't think they were the most prettiest things, so I just wanted that pop of green there. And these have done so well. I'm thinking of putting more, like towards where the terracotta pots that I put the SunPatiens in, to put some there. Every little bit of evergreen I can add to the garden really helps during those drab months when nothing is blooming. Sorry for the glare on my suburban window. I didn't realize that was there. This was poor timing of doing this. Usually I try to do these videos early in the morning before the sun's come over the trees, but I was away from home this morning and I couldn't get that done, the video done this morning. So we will do it now and put up with all the little faux pas this video has. So I was being careful not to chop my irrigation pipe, because I've done that a few times this weekend. I just forgot it was in a spot, shoved my shovel in the soil, and cut right through my irrigation pipe. So yeah, I need to be a little more mindful. I just get going and doing stuff, and I'm trying to fit things in, and I get, like even today's video, the way I just totally messed it up. I was in too much of a hurry to get it going, get it done for you, and I just botched it. I was putting here the irrigation pipe back around. I forgot to do that earlier. So fluffing it up, looking at it, seeing where I need to deadhead maybe some of the petunias. And that's pretty much it for, I was cutting my ajuga back too. The blooms were faded. Now to keep my ajuga in check, I dig out where it's spreading in areas I don't want it. And that seems to be good for me. I know the shadows are kind of in the way of seeing these well, but they are just so bright and beautiful. And if you notice, I put those bulbs in the ground. So that's where I dug up the one. Need to fill that in. But look how these are going to look gorgeous, and I know they're going to fill in just beautifully. This one looks a little rougher. I need to fill in a little bit and prune a little bit so I can revive it. But I wanted to, let's see, which iris have opened since oh yes, I tried to do this in the intro, and yeah, I ended up not having the volume on. So that's my huckleberry fudge. Now it is browner in real life than it shows on the video. But look at these, all these together. Isn't that gorgeous? This one over here is called Coral Passion. And then I'll take you over to this yellow one over here. Look at this. I just love that one. I don't think that's all folks, but it might be. I had one called Wedding Gown, was similar to. I think that's all folks is a little more, a darker yellow, but I'm not certain. So, yeah. Oh, I'll show you where I planted the roses that came out of that barrel. And I put them in cages. So over back here, you can see the rose cages, which they are disguised by the surrounding foliage. You can see this one's in shock. That's probably the piece of root that was in there and all the buds. I need to cut the buds off. I hated to move it before it got to bloom because it was full of buds. Let me see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah, just full. But I needed to do it, get them in the ground so they can get established. And here's the Mystic Spires Salvia. And I'll put another one in here so there's plenty to really create that beautiful look. So look down there where things are. Oh, I know. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous there? But down here, look at this peony. Look at this. Aren't those gorgeous? This is first one, and then those ones are getting ready. But you can hear my neighbor talking. Look at this one. I think this is Drinks at Sunset, but I'm not certain. I have two that are similar. And when I had to move things around in a rush, I didn't mark exactly where I put them. But if that's not Drinks at Sunset, when it does bloom, I will know. So here's what I was talking about. Well, you couldn't hear me because I forgot the sound wasn't on. I have to do voiceover. But you see, I said I have plenty repeats. And then I'll pull out the extras so I could add a different color in. So I think that's kind of it for my foxgloves are getting ready. Look at this one. I think this is Concertina. Got moved down here. It's a shorty one. Okay, down here is where I weed eated the path. And I put that barrel there. I'm testing that I'm going to put one of my Japanese maples there, and it will create a visual block between here, the back of my yard, and their house. And I think it'll be really pretty. I have a Bloodgood. I think it's called Bloodgood. Japanese maple to put there. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, a butterfly. I have seen more swallowtails this year. Last year I despaired of that they had maybe disappeared, but this year I have seen more and more of them. He's flying up to the front now. But I hope you enjoyed this video, even though I had to voice over most of it because I didn't have my sound on. Like I said, one of those days. So I really appreciate you following along and putting up with all my faux pas here. I'm sitting back and having me a sparkling water before I go in to edit this so I can share it with you. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.